You're a dog influencer and you're creating content on behalf of a brand, there are some things you need to know about the music that you can and cannot be using in the content you are creating. So let's talk to an IP and entertainment lawyer to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that's dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Tony, when it comes to pet influencing, we see a lot of people creating incredible content for social media and syncing it up to music on the social platforms. But when it comes to using music with our content, there are some rules we need to know about. So can you talk to me about commercial use music and some of those popular songs and whether or not we can be using those?
Yes, we're always so tempted to do a Katy Perry song, Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber. Hey, we'll even throw it back to the Backstreet Boys. There are tons of great musicians out there that, there's their music that people tag along onto their videos. And that's the beauty of social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, you can, and YouTube Shorts. You can have kind of like an overlay of the music to whatever video you have. Obviously, if there's a narrative portion to it, you could have it muted a little bit, the music. Either way, we live in a time now where it's almost very common for users to creatively integrate music into their content. The problem is when you're using that music for commercial purposes. Now, I want to make a distinction between using music for personal use versus commercial use. Personal use is just that, for personal use. And I know it's so self-explanatory, but it is what it sounds like. Let's say if you have a video of just your dogs running around in the backyard, or if you have a video of them playing with their favorite toy, or if you're making like a funny video that incorporates your dog in a way that pairs perfectly with an actual mainstream song, that's something that would trigger personal use of that music. It's a totally different ball game when you're using commercial music, this mainstream type of songs like, from The Weeknd or Taylor Swift or whoever. If you're using those mainstream songs in association with the promotion of a good or service that you have been asked to promote on your dog channel. So let's say, let's say BarkBox reached out to you and they said, hey, we want you to do a promo featuring, the latest installment of, toys we have. Let's assume that it's a Ghostbusters box because Ghostbusters, the new movie's coming out. And we want you to showcase your dog opening it up and all that. It becomes problematic when the dog influencer is using, let's say, the Ghostbusters theme song, because that's commercial music and you're using it in connection with the promotion of a specific good or service. In this case, the goods, the BarkBox toys, and the service is the subscription service that you get every month or however frequently you get it from BarkBox. So be very cognizant of the fact that the music library is not like an a la carte royalty-free access to just use whenever and wherever. There are limitations. Like I said, for personal use, it's fair game, but it's when you're using it for commercial use to encourage sales, to encourage some type of activity, commercial activity. That's no different than if you were to use, let's say, a mainstream song in a Target commercial, JCPenney, Macy's, what have you. So if you're ever in the position where you're a dog influencer and you're being asked on behalf of a brand or a specific service to promote whatever they have, you've brokered a deal with them. Let's say you sign a contract where you'll do 3 posts for $10,000. Great deal, by the way. If you do that, there have to be certain stipulations. Maybe it's set out clearly in the contract that you're not going to use commercial music, that you're bound to use royalty-free music. You have to make sure that you're reading the letter of the contract between you and the brand. Also, maybe there may be a world where the brand may have a license on your behalf, the music, so that way you can be able to use it in your specific video campaign that you're working on. That, I think, is very circumstantial. It's going to depend on the brand. It's going to depend on a lot of variety of factors, but that's something to also be cognizant of. Either way, bear in mind that if those terms are absent, you should steer clear of using commercial music, because then if you do use commercial music to promote a good or service, you're bound by the traditional music licensing terms that you would have to pursue with the music publisher and the record label. And that's important to make the distinction between the two, because there are 2 copyright ownership interests in music: to the underlying musical composition, which are the lyrics, the sheet music, the 2-dimensional version of a song, as I tell my students, And then you have the record label who licenses out the master recording rights, the actual sound recording. They're in a position to license those rights. And that can get quite costly if you're in a position of working with them. And especially if you're doing it for an internet campaign, it's even going to be more expensive. So I would say some tips to advise any dog influencers out there. One, be very mindful of what the contract says and what you're bound to. And if you don't know anything that you're reading, please go speak to a lawyer that specializes in influencer agreements. They can be able to help you read the contract, make sure that your rights are enforced, and also clarify what terms you are bound by in an event to prevent any sort of breach of contract claim. Number two, I would say start investing in, let's say, a subscription package for tons of great royalty-free music libraries that are out there. I'm sure that there's something out there where you could be able to legally use royalty-free music and incorporate that into your music. And you can at least have an outside source to incorporate in your videos. And then the third option is use TikTok's or Instagram's music library, so long as you're using specifically the royalty-free music that is available on those platforms. They make it very clear. And, obviously, it goes without saying, if you use commercial music, you're going to have to get the commercial license, or you're going to have to show proof of a license from the record label and the music publisher.
And as Tony said, all the social platforms do have royalty-free music that you can use in their commercial use library. So you want to make sure, whether you are on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or somewhere else, that you are paying attention to where those songs are located. There's usually a drop down. There's some kind of indicator that will say this is clear for you to use, or you do have to get a license for this. There's also platforms that you can monthly subscribe to in order to download music that you can use across the board on your content. We actually have videos and tutorials on our main channel, youtube.com/KMRobinson. I will link those down below, with my favorite music platform that you can get access to grab this music, to use it however you need to inside of your content. And we have tutorials on how to use this inside of the social platform. So if you've got questions, go ahead and drop those down below. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes here on the Dog Influencer channel. So if you have anything on the legal side of being a dog influencer, now's the time to go ahead and drop those. And Tony's always on our other channels as well. So make sure you check out the full playlist that I will link down below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor. And you can check out my entertainment law podcast called End Scene, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Drop your questions down below. Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes to keep us legally safe and protected in the dog influencer space. We know there's a lot going on and a lot of situations coming up, so drop your requests or let us know when something is popping up inside of the pet influencer space so we can get you content as quickly as possible to give you the answers you need to move forward in a way that is the most profitable and the safest for you. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.